Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to me again. I wanted to let you know that I was not able to videotape the director's Q&A after the Cloud Atlas screening with Tom Tykwer and the Wachowskis. But I do talk a little bit about some of the things that they said during that period on my review of Cloud Atlas, which is not here on my personal channel, but it is on the Movie Reviewers 100, the collab channel I'm a part of. So link is in the description below, so you can go check that out. I hope that you do. And subscribe if you haven't already. I have a couple more comments, questions for my Q&A, so I want to get to that. unfairlyone asked me what's my favorite Martin Scorsese film, and did I like Hugo? My favorite Scorsese film is Goodfellas. I like a lot of his movies. Goodfellas is definitely my favorite, though. There isn't a single moment in the movie that isn't interesting. It's funny, it's scary. The editing style is just fantastic. You know, there's just, paced like a mother bleeper. It's awesome. And, it's just, all around just fantastic movie. I mean, I've seen a lot of fantastic movies. That's sort of, having to pick just one is difficult. But if I had to pick one out of all of them, not only out of Martin Scorsese's movies, but all of them, would probably be Goodfellas. Did I like Hugo? Not really. I enjoyed seeing a lot of that old footage. The films that were made by George Méliès, the Ben Kingsley character. Of course, George Méliès is a real filmmaker from back in the silent shorts day, and he did a lot of very influential films. The whole film sort of centers around the fact that a lot of his film stock was melted and used to in the war, but several of his films were preserved in the end. And what they did for the film Hugo is they converted a lot of that into 3D. I went to see the film in 3D and watched it, and was really surprised that they did that. Given that Scorsese is a film preservationist, and you'd think that he'd want to show the movies as they were originally shot. But no, they were colorized and remastered in 3D, what have you. But that wasn't the only reason that I liked it, that I didn't like it. I also didn't like the fact that the conflict in the film was so very, very minimal and slight. Basically, the central conflict is the kid, the main character, doesn't want to be discovered for the orphan that he is, because then he'll be shipped off to the orphanage where he does not want to go. But in doing his research into the guy who is the proprietor of a shop in the train station where he works, he discovers that this person is actually a famous filmmaker named George Méliès. And he goes to the library with his friend, played by Chloe Moretz, to learn more about him. And they say, well, gee, the person who wrote this book on George Méliès probably knows a lot about him. And they turn around, and the guy who wrote the book is actually literally standing behind them. And they look at his photograph in the back of the book and look at him and it's like, what, you wrote this book? You know all about George Méliès. Can we ask you some questions? I'm just like, you've got to be kidding me. The guy was standing right there behind them. This complete ridiculous coincidence? Come on. I know this is based on a kid's book, but I mean, still, I expect a little bit better from Scorsese. And then there's this scene at the end where he's got to go get the automaton from the train station where he's got it hidden, but then gets nabbed by the policeman, Sacha Baron Cohen, and he's got to get this robot character back to George Méliès's home so George Méliès can finish it, make it work or whatever. Well, what do you know? George Méliès just happened to come to the train station. For no reason at all. He couldn't have possibly known this kid was going to get caught. He just leaves his house and goes to the train station, even though he was told that the kid would be back with the robot. He goes to the train station, meets him there, and saves him from going off to the orphanage. I'm like, another huge coincidence. So a couple of those, stack a couple of those up, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm not buying this, So Hugo, definitely not one of my favorite Scorsese movies. Thank you, though, for your question, though, unfairlyone. Appreciate it. The Inner DVD Pattern. My friend Kyle in Florida, he gave me a few questions, which I'm going to answer now. Is there a particular book that you've read that you'd like to see adapted into a film? Definitely, yes. I don't know that the American studios are going to do any more of the Stieg Larsson books. If The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo didn't make enough money to justify making another two from the other two books, then we'll have simply the Swedish films, which isn't bad, but I would really like to see the third book made into a film with the courtroom scene at the end. I was psyched for that courtroom scene at the end while I was reading the book. I was burning through those pages trying to get to that, man. And I just thought, oh, that would be so intense. I would just love to see that done. I mean, you know, the movie that has been made is okay, but you know, I like the Rooney Mara thing as well, you know, as well as, of course, Daniel Craig and all the other people. And I really wanted to see who they would get to play Daniel Craig's sister, who, of course, is the attorney, because she's a major character in that book. She ends up representing Elizabeth for that segment. Yeah, disappointed by that. Also, there was a book that came out quite a while ago that was going to be made into a film but wasn't, and that's called Slow Motion. It is a memoir by an author who's written a couple of fiction books. I really like that book a lot. And then there's Restaurant at the End of the Universe, which is the sequel to Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Love that book, such a funny book, would love to see it made into a film. Doesn't even have to have the people that were in the other Hitchhiker's movie in it. I just, you know, would like to see that movie. Replay. Robert Zemeckis was talking about doing a book called Replay and making that into a film. And I read the book and I thought it was really great. And I'd love to see it. And I figured out the perfect way to open the movie. Not the way the book does it, but the movie should open in a certain way. And I just thought, oh, that would be the best if it happened that way. But he's not going to do it now, apparently. I don't know, for whatever reason. He decided to do Flight. And then he was thinking about doing it, but apparently that's not going to happen now, which is a shame. Top 5 movies you're looking forward in 2013 as of right now? Hardly any. I don't know a whole lot of movies that are coming out in 2010. The RoboCop remake has been pushed back to 2014 now. Not that I was actually looking forward to that movie. You've got a couple new Marvel movies, Iron Man 3 and the new Thor film. I'm kind of sort of looking forward to those. I mean, more Iron Man because Shane Black is directing. I don't know. I don't know what's coming out. I really am not paying nearly as much attention to that stuff now as I was then. I don't know, throw some titles at me. I'll let you know whether I'm looking forward to them or not. But as of right now, nothing. I'm not really looking forward to anything except the next Sin City movie if he gets around to doing that finally. All-time favorite actors, actresses. Boy, I have so many favorite actors. Mostly character actors who just steal everything in sight. Hugo Weaving. I love Hugo Weaving. I love James Woods. I love Jeff Goldblum. I love lots of people. Ewan McGregor, William H. Macy, David Morse, Denzel Washington, Morgan Freeman, Anthony Edwards. I'm just throwing out names here. Every actor who I've seen do anything has been pretty decent in something, but there's a few that have sort of, I should come up with specific performances. It's like such and such an actor in this role. That's good. Actresses, there are a lot of people that I like. Emma Stone is so rocking right now. When I saw Superbad, I was just like, that one right there. She is awesome. Emma Stone, man, she's great. Of course, I got my, actresses I like just because they're attractive. But as far as really good, just plain acting actresses, I don't know, it's kind of hard to separate sometimes. But there's plenty out there that are good. Parker Posey, I can go with Parker Posey. She's pretty awesome. But I should really come up with a list. What are some of your favorite bands and artists? Actually, somebody asked me what my favorite 80s groups were. I forgot to mention the Cars. The Cars is an 80s band. I have their album Heartbeat City. It's one of my favorite albums. I've got an album by the Erasure, which is an English duo called The Innocents. Fish is a group I've had a lot of albums from because I was really into them in the 90s. There are certain albums that I like by people. And there are solo artists who I'll get all their work from, but bands, it's more like one particular CD I like of theirs. REM, for example. Who else? Live. There's a certain Nirvana disc that they did. It was a sort of a live album they did for an MTV special. That's a good one. Stone Temple Pilots. Some of the 90s groups I really liked a lot. The one that, what's his name started, the drummer from Nirvana, Foo Fighters. Yeah, Foo Fighters is another good group. Coldplay, I've got a couple of Coldplay discs, I think. And Adele. Adele is like, well, that's just one person. Never mind. Oh, right. You're asking about artists, too. Weird Al Yankovic, Seal, Tori Amos, Fiona Apple. That's just a sampling right there. You know, yeah, I actually went and bought Adele's CDs, both of them, after 21 had come out. And I have to say, Adele's disc called 19 is one of many albums in which my favorite song on the entire disc is the very last one. There's a whole bunch of albums in which the last song, the Cranberries, everybody else is doing it, so why don't we? The last song in the album is called, what's it called? I can't remember what it's called, but the last song is the best. And the same with Adele 19. The last song on 19 is Hometown Glory, which is my favorite Adele song. So there you go, there's another one. What's your favorite movie of the year so far? The 3-hour director's cut of Margaret by Kenneth Lonergan. It used to be John Carter, but I got a chance to see Margaret in the theater. The reduced 2.5-hour version of it, but I got a chance to see the 3-hour version of home video. It's actually a little longer than 3 hours, and my favorite film of the year so far. Not to say that I love it, it's still kind of a difficult film. I'm looking forward to seeing more stuff this fall because I figure something will end up being better than that. But yeah, also very big on the one with Paul Dano and his girlfriend. What's it called? Ruby Sparks, that's a good one. Take This Waltz with Michelle Williams and Seth Rogen, that's also very good. Perfect Sense with Ewan McGregor and Eva Green. And Killer Joe. William Friedkin, Matthew McConaughey, Juno Temple. Awesome. Thank you very much. Thanks for your questions, guys. Appreciate it. Anyone else have comments or want to ask me questions for my Q&A? It's open-ended, so there's a link to that video below. Or you can just leave me comments on this video, you know, and ask me stuff, and I'll answer it. Thanks again, guys. Later. Bye.